For 30 years, the sky was ruled by stealth fighters. The F-22 and the F-35 were kings. Untouchable, invisible, unstoppable. But in the next 2 decades, a new jet will rise. A machine that no radar can track. A predator no pilot can outthink. And a force no nation can ignore. It won't even be called an F-47, because no such program exists. The real 7th generation is something far darker. A jet with no cockpit, no limits, no rules left intact. Picture this, an AI pilot twisting through the sky with moves no human body could survive, commanding swarms of drones like pawns in a deadly chess match. Miss this leap, and your whole air force could collapse in the first 24 hours of war. Now imagine the sky itself turning into a battlefield. Ghost fighters, invisible to radar, burning missiles out of the air with lasers, vanishing into quantum shadows, striking at machine speed before anyone blinks. This isn't science fiction. The technology is already here, in labs, on prototypes, even flown in secret. The countdown has begun. This is the blueprint of the 7th generation jets, the weapons that will destroy every limit of the F-35, and why forgetting the F-47 might be the smartest move you'll ever make. Back in the 1990s, a new age of warfare began. It was the age of stealth. The F-22 Raptor rose first. Silent, unseen, a hunter built for air dominance. It wasn't just a jet, it was a warning to the world. A machine that could fly through enemy skies without ever being spotted. Then came the F-35 Lightning II. It promised more than stealth. It promised sensor fusion, one jet that could see the entire battlefield, connecting every radar, every drone, every missile system into a single picture. For a moment, it seemed like the future had arrived. These fighters could hear whispers in the sky. They could track enemies before enemies even knew they were there. But soon, cracks began to show. The world adapted. Radars grew sharper, missile systems stretched further, and nations like China and Russia learned how to hunt what once was untouchable. The F-22 became predictable. The F-35, weighed down by cost and politics, became vulnerable. The magic of stealth was fading, and every Air Force knew it. Because in war, what works today becomes obsolete tomorrow. That's the curse of technology. Every secret eventually has a counter. By the mid-2000s, pilots whispered it. By the 2010s, generals admitted it. Even the best 5th-generation jets could no longer guarantee control of the sky. They were kings of a dying era, still powerful, but already hunted. And deep inside black-budget labs, engineers asked a terrifying question. If stealth was no longer enough, if sensor fusion was already expected, then what would the next generation demand? What would the 6th generation promise that the 5th could never deliver? As the 5th generation grew old, the world's superpowers began chasing something new. They called it the 6th generation. In the United States, it was NGAD, the Next Generation Air Dominance Program. For the Navy, it was the F/A-20, a ghost fighter meant to guard the seas. In Europe, they dreamed of the Tempest. In France and Germany, the vision was FCAS, the Future Combat Air System. Each of these projects promised a future jet unlike anything before. Engines that could adapt mid-flight, shifting power for speed, stealth, or endurance. Fighters that would not fight alone, but inside a vast combat cloud. A web of satellites, sensors, and swarms of drones, all linked in real time. Human pilots would no longer be alone. They would command teammates without faces, loyal wingmen made of code and steel. It was bold, it was revolutionary, and it was crushingly expensive. Budgets began to explode. Timelines stretched into the 2030s and 2040s. Every year of delay made today's fighters even more vulnerable. The promise of 6th Gen was dazzling, but the reality was fragile. Nations were pouring billions into projects that might not fly for another 2 decades. And by then, would they even matter? The battlefield is not patient. The enemy does not wait for your deadlines. And technology moves faster than contracts or committees. What happens if the 6th generation arrives too late? What if tomorrow's war is already being shaped by something else? Something no one expected. If 6th Gen is late, then what comes after? Not long ago, the internet began buzzing with a strange rumor. A new fighter jet was coming, they said. It would be called the F-47. Videos went viral. Whispers spread through forums and news sites. But here's the truth. There is no F-47 program today. The number itself belongs to a ghost of history. Back in World War II, there was a fighter called the P-47 Thunderbolt, a heavy, rugged machine that chewed through the skies of Europe and the Pacific. It was feared then. It was legendary then. But it was not the future. Somehow, the name was twisted. A rumor became a headline. A headline became a myth. And the myth became a distraction, because in reality, the Pentagon never announced an F-47. No defense contractor ever built one. It was smoke. It was noise. The truth is far more dangerous. The next leap in air power is not a number. It is a revolution. The so-called seventh generation will not follow the old pattern. F-15, F-22, F-35, F-something. That logic is broken. What's coming won't be just a fighter with a new label. It will be a new species of weapon. A jet that breaks the very rules that defined the generations before. Because the sixth generation promised evolution, but the seventh will bring mutation. It will change what a fighter jet is, what it looks like, how it thinks, how it kills. No more chasing numbers, no more following tradition. The world is waiting for something nameless, ruleless, and untamed. So the question becomes, if the F-47 is just a myth, what rules will the real seventh generation break? In 2020, the world saw the first glimpse of a new pilot. Not a man, not a woman, but a line of code. The US Air Force quietly slipped an AI co-pilot into a U-2 spy plane. The jet soared into the sky, half human, half machine. For the first time, artificial intelligence was not just crunching numbers on the ground. It was making real-time decisions in the cockpit. That was only the beginning. By 2024, the experiment turned deadly serious. DARPA's ACE program, Air Combat Evolution, stepped into the spotlight. They placed an AI brain inside the X-62A Vista, a jet built to mimic any fighter in the world. Then they let it fight, not against simulations, not against drones, but against real, living, human pilots. The results shocked everyone. The AI pilot didn't hesitate. It didn't second guess. It moved with reflexes no human body could match. It won again, and again, and again. Every test ended the same way. Machine over man. The skies had witnessed something terrifying. For decades, we believed pilots were the ultimate weapon. Heroes with nerves of steel and instincts honed by war. But the machine didn't need nerves. It didn't need instincts. It only needed speed. And in the brutal logic of air combat, speed kills. So the world had to ask a chilling question. If an AI can outfly the best human pilots alive, if an algorithm can win a dogfight without fear, fatigue, or hesitation, then what happens when the machine doesn't just assist, but takes the stick entirely? If AI becomes the pilot, how do humans even matter? A new era is rising in the sky. The Collaborative Combat Aircraft program is not a dream. It brings loyal wingmen to war. Big companies like Anduril and General Atomics build these helpers. One crewed jet will not fly alone anymore. It will lead a herd of robotic fighters. Imagine a single pilot with one brain. That brain will control 20 small fighters. Each drone is cheap to lose but smart enough to fight. They fly in patterns like a hunting pack. The crewed jet gives orders at lightning speed. The drones spread out, find targets, and protect the leader. They act like shields, scouts, and missiles all at once. This changes the math of battle. You no longer need dozens of manned jets. A few crews can control many machines. That cuts cost and raises risk for the enemy. But the system needs perfect coordination. It needs links that do not break. It needs secrets to stay hidden from hackers. Engineers designed special networks and fast radios for this. Pilots now train to be commanders, not just flyers. They learn to think like a general on fast forward. They practice split-second choices and whole swarm moves. These teams train in simulators that feel real. The logistics are huge, but the payoff is massive. A single battle can tip with good drone tactics. Yet the biggest trick is navigation. If GPS is jammed or broken in war, the drones still must find home. They use vision and shared maps to keep formation. They watch the ground, the stars, and each other. They trade brief messages to correct errors. They can scatter and regroup on command. Enemies will race to break the links, and humans must decide when to trust machines. It is a new kind of teamwork, metal and code working as one. The idea is terrifying and powerful at once. It makes a single jet into a whole air force. But how do you guide them when GPS is gone? For years, every fighter jet depended on the same fragile thread. GPS satellites in orbit, whispering signals down to the Earth. Break the signal, and the pilot is blind. Jam it, and the fighter drifts off course. Destroy it, and the entire Air Force collapses. But in 2024, something remarkable flew for the first time. A breakthrough by BAE Systems and QinetiQ. They tested a new kind of navigation, one that doesn't need satellites at all. It's called cold atom quantum navigation. Instead of listening to the sky, it listens to the atoms themselves. Supercooled particles, frozen near absolute zero, sensing even the tiniest movement. Every shift, every tilt, every acceleration, measured with impossible precision. The result, a jet that can guide itself through space without ever touching GPS. No jamming, no hacking, no signal to cut. Just silent, perfect navigation locked into the laws of physics. The greatest danger to every fighter is not another jet. It is the swarm of incoming missiles. For decades, pilots had only one answer: dodge, flare, or pray. But now, engineers promise something faster, something that moves at the speed of light. In secret labs, Lockheed Martin built a weapon called Lance, the laser advancements for next-generation compact environments. In simple words, it is a fighter-sized laser cannon. The hardware is already delivered. It was not theory. It was not a cartoon sketch. It is real. A laser designed to burn missiles out of the air in a blink. No bullets, no reloads, just pure energy. Invisible, silent, devastating. Physics is not the enemy here. Power is. Cooling is. The beam works, but feeding it drains more energy than most jets can carry. Keeping it cool in the fire of combat is another wall still standing. So yes, the future of air defense may rest on lasers. Engines choke. Airframes burn. The barrier is not speed, but survival. The only hope lies in new alloys, futuristic ceramics, and radical cooling systems. Until then, Mach 5 belongs to missiles, not jets. So the question stands, what will true 7th gen fighters really look like? The real 7th generation will not be one jet. It will be a system of systems, a crewed optional command aircraft guiding swarms of drones across the sky. They will fly with quantum navigation beyond the reach of satellites, wrapped in multispectral stealth, invisible across radar, heat, and light, armed with directed energy weapons, striking missiles at the speed of light. Together, they form an ecosystem of machines and humans, bound in code and fire. But beneath the dazzling vision, one question lingers. What is the hidden truth no one dares to admit? For a century, the limit of war was the human body, the human pilot, the human brain, heart, and reflex. But the 7th generation breaks that rule forever, because the new limit is no longer man. It is the machine. AI fused with full autonomy, fighting battles at algorithmic speed. Dogfights ending before a human even blinks. Decisions made in microseconds, not minutes. And nations without this leap will not resist. They will not fight back. They will simply fall. So what does this mean for the future of war? The ultimate truth is this. Forget the idea of planes with simple numbers. The real 7th generation will be a mid-century convergence of technology, a force not defined by one jet, but by a war-rewriting ecosystem. The side that commands AI brains and endless drone swarms will own the skies. Pilots will fade, commanders will rise, and machines will fight. This is the moment that shatters every old rule. This is the echo of the hook, a future beyond the F-22 or F-35. So ask yourself, what happens when humans are no longer the fastest in the fight? From the age of F-22 stealth to the rise of AI swarms, we have crossed into a new era of war. Today you've seen why the 7th generation will not follow numbers, why it will break every rule we thought was unshakable. But this is only the beginning. More secrets are waiting, more revelations are coming. So make sure to subscribe for deep dives into the next wave of military technology before others even know it exists. And one final question. Would you trust AI to fight wars for your country?